Edit. I'm putting this one up here because it seems like the one at the bottom isn't being read. I am going to court as soon as possible, and I will let them sort it out. Thank you all for every bit of advice you've given. It is much appreciated. I'm going to start this off by saying he doesn't want to go to court to figure this out, but I will if necessary. So I just gave birth to a baby girl a few weeks ago. My ex and I broke up while pregnant. We argued way too much, and both agreed that kind of environment is not good for a baby. So please don't come at me for being a single mom. We have been working together as a team to be the best parents we can be, regardless of the split. He wants shared custody, but I'm very hesitant because he's admitted that he doesn't know the first thing about babies. I've tried showing him how to change her diaper, but it grosses him out. He says he can just have his mom do it, because he still lives with her. I told him that as much as I love and respect his mom, it is not her responsibility, and she is not going to be the one with custody. I trust her with both mine and my child's life, but he is the father, and he needs to know how to change her diaper. Another issue is he works a lot, and a lot of the time, he goes away on business trips. I asked him how that would work if he goes away on one of his custody weeks, and again, he said he'd have his mom take care of her. It's important to note that his mom is a hard-working woman and works about 60-80 hours a week. I think the biggest thing that worries me is that he lives 2 hours away, and I can't imagine the anxiety it would bring to have my infant that far away from me. He's been calling me selfish, saying that I'm keeping his child from him, which I understand, but that's not true. I have a spare room in my house that I told him he can stay in whenever he wants, so he can stay for the night, or literally however long he'd like. Or I can come to his place. His mom has a spare room and said that I can come stay if I'd like. This arrangement would work very well because our daughter is exclusively breastfed. We've tried breast milk in a bottle, but she won't latch. Also, he has not bought a single thing for her, despite having more than enough money. All the baby stuff at his house was bought by his mom. I am so grateful for her love and support, but again, he is the father, and he has not shown any sort of responsibility. He's pissed at me for implying he's not a good dad. But all I've been saying is, I would like to be sure that the person taking care of her knows what they're doing. I've been trying to show him how, but he gets really defensive and doesn't want to learn. I told him we can just go to court to figure it out. Neither of us wants a nasty court battle, but if we can do it amicably, but he doesn't want to, so they can't order him to pay child support, which pisses me off, because regardless of whether or not you're ordered to pay child support, you should want to do everything possible to support your child. Anyway, am I the idiot for not letting him take care of his baby? Edit. When I say he refuses to change her diaper, I mean it. He says, "No, it's not my job. You're the mom." The one time I told him that I wasn't going to change it because he needs to learn how, he said, "Fine, I'll just let her sit in her own chute then." So I just changed it. He refuses. Also, she is exclusively breastfed. I try daily to get her to take a bottle, but she will not latch. But I still try. So unless I am physically with her, she will starve. He doesn't seem to care at all, and said so himself. And I am in no way trying to keep him from his daughter, or not allow visitation. I want them to have a relationship. In the 3 weeks since she was born, he's only come to see her twice, and has spent a total of 1.5 hours with her. He cannot be left alone with her. And that's not me being petty. I have tried. I told him I needed to go to the store to get something for her, and he called me before I even got to the end of the street, telling me I needed to come back because she woke up from her nap. I am not the one keeping them apart. He is. I am doing my best to make sure they have a relationship. He insists he wants 50-50 custody, but he has absolutely no plan on how to take care of her if that happens. He has said that his mom can assume responsibility, but she works 10 to 12 hours a day and does not intend to leave her career. And their shifts overlap quite a bit, so who would be there to watch her when no one is home? He hasn't spent a dime on our daughter, so why would he pay just to have someone else watch her? And if he does hire a babysitter or nanny, why does he deserve 50-50 custody when our child will be in someone else's care the entire time he has her? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If he can't change a nappy, he doesn't get the kid. And he sounds like one of those guys who will start paying child support, but then things will just keep coming up, and he stops. I would get him to take a baby class, and while your child is exclusively breastfed, I wouldn't let him take her for more than 2 hours without you. Babies need feeding a lot. You're trying to make concessions with the spare room situation. not the idiot, and hold firm. Comment 2. The only way you're getting anything remotely amicable with this man is if the court forces it. He's made it clear he just wants to see the kids sometimes and not actually be a dad, so it's court time. There are family apps, and you can have something like first refusal, where, on his custody time, he has to give the kid back to you unless he can't if he needs to go somewhere like a work trip. Not the idiot. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I read every single one and I'm grateful for the support. I wanted to give you an update on the situation with my ex and our baby girl. First off, I'm definitely going to court. I've realized that's the only way to sort this mess out. Now, let me fill you in on the latest drama. Remember how my ex didn't want to change diapers and said he'd let his mom handle it? Well, turns out his mom had a talk with him. She told him she's not going to be the primary caregiver and that he needs to step up. He didn't take that well. He actually accused her of siding with me and betraying him. Can you believe that? But here's where it gets really crazy. His mom called me last week and she was furious. She found out that he's been seeing someone else. And not just anyone, it's his coworker, someone he's been on business trips with. His mom overheard a phone call where he was telling this woman that he's going to fight for custody so they can raise the baby together. I was shocked. I mean, we've been broken up, but to plan a future with someone else and my baby? That's a whole new level of betrayal. Now, I've always known he was a charmer, and he could sweet talk his way out of anything. But this? It's like I don't even know him anymore. His mom apologized to me for his behavior, saying she didn't raise him to be this way. She's been such a rock for me, even after the breakup. She's the one who bought all the baby stuff at his house, remember? And about him not spending money on our daughter, it turns out he's been saving up for a new car. A sports car, no less. His mom found the brochure and confronted him about it. He told her that he needs it to feel good about himself. I guess feeling good doesn't include being a responsible dad. But wait, it gets worse. He actually had the nerve to show up at my house with his new girlfriend, demanding to see our daughter. I was home alone, and it was intimidating. He said that since he's the father, he has the right to introduce her to anyone he wants. I stood my ground and told him that he can't just barge into her life with a stranger, especially when he barely knows her himself. During this visit, he also let it slip that he's planning to use his mom's hard work as a way to show the court he has a stable support system for shared custody. I couldn't believe he'd use his own mother like that, especially when she's already told him she can't be the primary caregiver. His mom has been trying to talk some sense into him, but he's not listening. She's heartbroken about the whole situation. She's always been there for him, working those long hours to provide a good life, and now he's just throwing it all back in her face. As for the breastfeeding issue, I'm still trying to get our daughter to take a bottle, but it's tough. He doesn't seem to understand that she needs me right now, more than ever. He's so focused on this custody battle that he's not thinking about what's best for her. The last time he came over, he tried to feed her, but she just wouldn't take the bottle from him. He got frustrated and handed her back to me, saying it's my problem. That's when I knew for sure that he's not ready to be a full-time dad. He can't handle the basic tasks, let alone the emotional needs of our baby. I'm worried about what will happen next. His mom is on my side, but she's also torn because that's her son. She's been trying to convince him to be more reasonable, but he's convinced that he's in the right, and that I'm just trying to keep him away from his daughter. Brother-in-law shuns me for my marriage, but when his crumbles, he knocks at my door for help. So I turn him away with just advice and watch as karma brings family back to us. I, 32-year-old female, used to have an amazing relationship with my brother-in-law, 29-year-old male, and his family, and I was highly involved in my niece's life once she was born. I even asked for his blessing to date my now wife, 31-year-old female, and later also asked for his permission to propose. He said yes. Things dramatically changed after we moved into our new home, and I mentioned going to their church, as it was within walking distance of our home. The very next day, my brother-in-law tells my wife that he has decided to no longer allow me in the family's life due to not wanting his child exposed to our sinful lifestyle. We are homosexuals, and that I don't exist to them anymore. He said my wife was still welcome in their life, but I was no longer allowed to ever be around his family. He even went as far as to quote scripture to my wife to try to encourage her to leave me. To this day, I still grieve losing my relationship with my niece. This socially ostracized me from all family events. My wife and I committed to each other that we would not be forced to spend holidays and major events separately. The family has pressured my wife to still attend and says hateful things when she refuses and resorts to calling me names. Fast forward, and my then fiancé, now wife, was scheduled to get a pancreas transplant. Despite the turmoil between everyone, I knew it was important for my wife to have anyone and everyone she wanted to support her during her recovery. Due to infection 19, only myself and her mom were allowed to alternate visits at the hospital. When it was my turn at the hospital, I decided to keep everyone updated. My brother-in-law then tells my mother-in-law that I made him uncomfortable texting him, as I wasn't welcome in his life anymore, and asked her to tell me to stop updating him, which I complied with. However, drama ensued when my mother-in-law got mad because I told her it was important for him to be able to communicate with me in order to visit, as I was going to be responsible for all of my wife's medical care after the transplant. I felt it was important to be respected in our home, to avoid conflict and not cause my wife distress. Also, I wanted to know prior to him coming, so that if my wife wasn't up to having guests, I could let them know ahead of time. I also needed to prepare visitors for the safety precautions that the doctors instructed us to follow. My mother-in-law insisted that they should be able to come whenever they feel like it, without calling. She even told me I should leave my home when my brother-in-law comes, so he could feel more comfortable during the visit. I absolutely refused to comply with this. As a result, my mother-in-law told everyone that I was trying to isolate my brother-in-law from seeing my wife. She says I was petty, mean, and selfish. Personally, I think I was kind to even consider allowing him in my home at all, considering how he has disrespected and treated me. So, am I the jerk? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your brother-in-law has evicted you from his life. He can't expect that this comes with no consequences. Expecting you to leave your house when he visits is madness. I'm not really sure what your sinful ways are, though. Is it living together before being married? Interesting that he had no issues with you and your ways when you were looking at houses together, going through the buying process, etc., and then had an issue when you decided to go to the same church as him. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Sometimes you call her your fiancée, and sometimes your wife. Which is it? Anyway, I'd go to their church and hold my head up high. Everyone will probably like you better anyway, because he sounds intolerable. Keep caring for your fiancée wife like you do so well and hold fast to that line. Transplants are serious, and those immunosuppressants make her really vulnerable. I wish her a speedy recovery. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I'm back with an update that's been a rough ride. After the whole fiasco with my brother-in-law and mother-in-law, things took an unexpected turn. My wife's recovery from the pancreas transplant was going well, but the family drama was far from over. Remember how my brother-in-law didn't want me in his life? Well, he showed up at our house unannounced one day. I was home alone, as my wife was at a follow-up appointment with her mom. He stood there, awkward as ever, and I could tell something was off. He asked if we could talk, and I was hesitant but let him in, thinking maybe he was here to make amends. Turns out, he was having marital problems. His wife had found out about some messages between him and a woman from their church. She kicked him out, and he had nowhere to go. He was desperate and, ironically, asking me for help. I was shocked, to say the least. I told him he couldn't stay with us, given everything that had happened. But I did give him the number of a nearby motel and some advice on marriage counseling. He left, looking defeated, and I was left feeling a mix of emotions. When my wife got home, I told her everything. She was just as stunned as I was. We talked it over and agreed that we wouldn't get involved in his personal issues, but we also felt bad for the situation he was in. A few days later, my mother-in-law called. She was furious that I had turned her son away. She accused me of being heartless and said I should have let him stay as a gesture of family unity. I reminded her of the boundaries we had set and how her son had treated us. The next thing we knew, word got out in the family about my brother-in-law's situation. Some relatives who had been cold to us started reaching out, saying they didn't agree with how he had treated us and that they wanted to reconnect. It was a surprise, but a welcome one. My wife and I started receiving invitations to family events again. We were cautious, but decided to attend a cousin's birthday party. It was awkward at first, but as the evening went on, people warmed up to us. We even had a few heartfelt apologies from relatives who admitted they had been wrong to judge us. But the biggest shock came when my brother-in-law's wife reached out to me privately. She wanted to meet and talk. We met at a coffee shop, and she was a mess. She told me she was sorry for how she had treated us, and that she was considering leaving my brother-in-law for good. She said she had been blind to his true nature, and that the messages she found were just the tip of the iceberg. She also revealed that my brother-in-law had been the one pushing the family to exclude us, using the church as a way to manipulate everyone. She was done with his hypocrisy and was planning to file for divorce. I listened and offered her my support. It was a lot to take in, and I felt for her. She was another victim of my brother-in-law's actions. As for my wife and me, we're doing better than ever. We've reconnected with some family members, and we're taking things one step at a time. It's been a ride of emotions, but we're hopeful for the future. And as for my brother-in-law, he's been laying low. I haven't heard from him since he came to our house that day. I don't know what the future holds for him, but I hope he finds a way to make things right, not just with his wife, but with everyone he's hurt. Ex supported me financially for years, but now he's got a pregnant mistress and wants half my house, so I'm gathering evidence to keep what's mine, while his assistant sends ominous messages. My ex, 37-year-old male, and I, 36-year-old male, have been together for 16 years. We never married or had kids, but we shared finances. At the beginning of our relationship, we were pretty much 50-50 on finances, unless one of us fell on hard times and the other would step up. We started with our own bank accounts, but then he added me onto his in 2011. In 2014, he was trying to figure out what he was going to do when he lost his job. He tried all these different ventures that didn't really work out for him. It got to the point where I was able to claim him on my taxes as a dependent. Between 2015 and 2019, I was carrying us. It got to the point where he stayed home and I was working 2 jobs and going to school. I struggled with setting boundaries and wouldn't confront him for not working. He hated his last job in 2014 to the point where he was always miserable and very unpleasant to be around. I was too scared to rock the boat, so I just took it, my fault, I know. In 2017, I got a job at a bank and a gym. I went back to school to get a degree in IT. While working at the bank, I was able to get my credit from 580 to 690 by 2019. In 2019, before the housing market got crazy, we decided to buy a house. We found a house we liked and went through with the purchasing process. Since I was the one with good credit and a job, we put the loan in my name. I came up with the down payment, closing costs, and even materials to update the home using one of my IRAs. After the close, he finally got a job where he took over ownership of a business. This company required a lot of remodeling. While he was doing all that for his business, I was remodeling the home, i.e., pulling out carpet, installing new floors, painting walls, and installing new light fixtures. The house was outdated. I was doing all this while working and going to school. He didn't help with remodeling the home, but that was because he spent all his time at the business remodeling it. After the house was ready for move-in, he got mad at me for something and chose not to help with the move-in. The last 4 years in this house have been me covering all the bills, and now I was carrying the relationship. His business was failing when he took over, but he turned it around so it can sustain itself, but he is not able to pay himself a decent wage. My checks would cover all the bills, while his covered food and entertainment. Whenever something broke, it was me who fixed it. I could no longer take it and broke up with him. Now he is telling me to sell the house and give him half. He feels like I owe it to him since we have been together for 16 years. I told him I won't because I was the one who came up with the down payment, remodeled the home, and I have been paying the mortgage on my own. Also, I don't want to move. It's my first home, it's in my name, and I paid for it. I have bank statements to prove it all. Common law marriage is not recognized in our state. Now he is saying I screwed him over in life. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk. That would be like a renter suing his landlord for part of the house just because they rented for a long time. He should have been more involved in remodeling, moving, getting any job to chip in for bills and such. Leaving it all to you from beginning to end basically makes it yours. Comment 2. Not the jerk. He didn't contribute anything towards the house. He has no investment in it at all. He doesn't get to suck more life out of you. Legally, you're in the clear as well. Now for the update. Hey Reddit. It's been a week since I last posted about my ex and the house drama, and let me tell you, things have escalated quickly. So, after I refused to sell the house and give him half, my ex went from upset to full-on angry. He started bringing up stuff from the past, like how he supported me emotionally when I was juggling 2 jobs and school. He said that without his support, I wouldn't have been able to get through it all. I can't deny that he was there for me, but it's not like he was bringing in any money at the time. Remember how I mentioned he took over a failing business? Well, turns out he had been hiding just how bad it was. He confessed that he's been drowning in debt and the business is on the brink of collapse again. He's been using credit cards to keep it afloat, and now he's in over his head. He said he didn't tell me because he was embarrassed and didn't want me to worry. I couldn't believe he kept this from me, especially since we used to be so open about our finances. But here's the kicker. Guys, I found out that while he was remodeling his business, he was actually spending a lot of time with his assistant, who, get this, is now pregnant. Apparently, they've been having an affair for over a year. I was floored. I mean, I knew our relationship had its issues, but I never thought he would cheat on me. I confronted him about it, and it was one of the most intense conversations we've ever had. He tried to justify it by saying our relationship had been dead long before the affair started, and that he found comfort with her. I was so angry, I couldn't even look at him. I told him that cheating is never justifiable, no matter the state of our relationship. Now, he's using this pregnancy to try and guilt me into selling the house. He says he needs the money to provide for his child and clear his debts. He's been telling me that if I ever loved him, I would help him out for the sake of his child. It's like he's a completely different person from the man I spent 16 years with. I've been talking to my friends and family about all of this, and they're just as shocked as I am. They've been really supportive, though. My best friend, who's known us since the beginning, reminded me of how hard I worked to get where I am. She pointed out that my ex never really got over losing his job back in 2014, and that's when he started to become more distant and resentful. I've been reflecting on our relationship a lot this past week. I remember when we first met, we were both so ambitious and supportive of each other's dreams. But as time went on, and especially after he lost his job, things changed. I became the provider, and he became more withdrawn. I guess I was so focused on trying to keep us afloat that I didn't see how unhappy he was. As for the house, I'm standing my ground. I worked too hard for it, and I'm not about to give it up because he made poor choices. I've been gathering all the financial records and bank statements to prove that I've been the one paying for everything. It's stressful, but I'm prepared to fight this. And just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, I got a message from his assistant, the one who's pregnant. She wants to meet up and talk. I have no idea what she's going to say, but I have a feeling it's going to be another bombshell. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.